Time to get into the new comic book series that are dropping in April. Guys, thank you for checking out this video. This is my second installment of the new comic book series that we can expect for the month of April. If you didn't see the video that I posted last month in March, the purpose of these videos is to primarily just give you guys insight into what new comic book series are going to be dropping for that given month. So in April, these are all the #1 issues that you're going to be seeing hitting shelves. These are not ongoing series, so this won't be like issue 2, 3, 4, whatever. I'm going to be just highlighting the #1 issues, the new series in comic books that we're going to be getting. I may involve if there is a run with a new writer that is kind of kicking off a new event. Let's say like Batman, for example. We don't often get a #1 Batman series unless it is a spin-off or a tie-in. So there may be instances where it's not necessarily a #1 issue, but I think it's important enough to maybe check out because we're going to be getting a new storyline. And if you are friends with me on Instagram and mainly know me from what I post on that social media, first off, really appreciate you coming over here and checking out the video. Second off, brand new channel. If you do me a huge solid and click that subscribe button down below if you haven't done so already, would mean a lot to me. All right, kicking us off with Marvel. That first week in April, April 6th. The book I have here is going to be X-Men Red #1. This is going to be written by Al Ewing. Artist is Stefano Caselli. We have a good amount of variant covers here. Pretty cool looking one by Peach Momoko. We have a David Lopez variant. A Clark promo variant. That one looks really cool, actually. So it looks like Clark Araco is doing 2 different ones. I don't know if the promo one is going to be a store exclusive, but Clark Araco is also doing a nice Storm variant here. Then we have a 150 Ward variant with Magneto on the cover. This is exciting. I mean, Al Ewing did some amazing things with that Hulk series, so definitely looking forward to this one. Next up is Spider-Punk #1. This is being written by Cody Ziegler, and art is done by Justin Mason. This is going to be taking place in Multiverse Earth 138. Some pretty badass variant covers here that we have. It looks like Tony Daniels is going to be doing 2 different variant covers. A cover, it's saying variant A and variant B. One is just going to have the trade dress. One is going to be a Virgin variant, it looks like. There's going to be a Nayuk headshot variant. I think I'm pronouncing that right. You know, actually, I was going to say this would be my second favorite variant coming out, but looking at this Del Mundo variant cover of Spider-Punk thrashing a guitar, might have to give it to that one. Overall, you know, I'm not too familiar with Cody Ziegler's work. I believe he wrote some amazing Spider-Man. This could be a pretty fun read. Next up for the week of April 6th, we have another Marauders series, Marauders #1. And you guessed it, we have a good amount of variant covers here. Of course, we have Peach Momoko doing a variant. I feel like she did a lot of the Marauders variant covers that we had previously. Scotty Young, to no surprise, will be getting a variant as well. Really badass D'Orso variant. Keep an eye out for this one. And to cap off the week for Marvel, we have Deadpool Bad Blood #1. This was actually a graphic novel that was released, it looks like in 2017. I'm not sure why Marvel feels the need to take that graphic novel and split it up now into issues. I would guess they just feel like this is going to sell. I'm not sure it really will. I'd prefer a new Deadpool series rather than just a reprint of a story we've already had. And yes, it is Rob Liefeld, I guess. I just don't really see the point in doing this. Give us something new. Moving on to the next week, the week of April 13th for Marvel, we only have one new series that is going to be dropping, and that is X-Men 92, House of XC2, which means, I guess in Roman numerals, 92, #1. This is being written by Steve Fox. Artist is Salvador Espin. And we have a few variants here. One that really stands out to me is this Nakayama variant. There's also going to be a variant by Scott Williams. And it looks like there's a 1 in 25 Talaski variant. Who doesn't love the incarnations of the 90s X-Men? This one is definitely going to be on my pull list. All right, and hitting us the week of April 20th, we have Captain America 0. Looks like we're going to have a bunch of writers and artists doing this book here, so I would guess it would be somewhat of an anthology, most likely a couple stories in there. We have a bunch of covers coming out for this, but yeah, it's going to be kicking off a new Captain America series. Cover-wise, we have a Ross Sam Wilson variant. We have a Hamner SpiderMan variant. That one looks pretty cool. And we have a 1 in 25 as well as a 1 in 50. And there's also a Brooks wraparound variant, which looks pretty nice as well. And based on the description, it looks like, yes, we are getting both Captain Americas. We're going to be getting Sam Wilson and Steve Rogers. Whether they're teaming up or going head-to-head and trying to prove who the better Captain America is, not really sure. I'm going to be in for this one, though. And wrapping up the week of April 20th, we have Doctor Strange, Nexus of Nightmares, #1. And it looks like the villain Nightmare has invaded Doctor Strange's dreams. Looking at this cover here for cover A, pretty sure things are going to get pretty trippy and intense. The writer on this book is Ralph Macchio, and the art is going to be done by Ibrahim Mustafa. I think I'm going to go with cover A here. However, there is going to be one more cover B that will be available. And finishing up for that last week in April 27th week from Marvel, we have a new Amazing Spider-Man series. Yeah, this is going to be a really big event. The Amazing Spider-Man #1 is hitting shelves that last week in April. The writer on this run so far is going to be Zeb Wells. Who knows what they're going to do later on. But to kick off this series, it's going to be written by Zeb Wells. And if you're looking at this cover A, you guessed it, art is going to be done by John Romita Jr. And speaking of covers, I'm not going to list them all. I'm going to post a few here. But man, we are getting a full-blown list of different incentives, store exclusives, I'm sure, and just overall variant covers for this. It's a little bit overwhelming as I'm scrolling through it. But I'm going to post a couple cool ones that I think you might want to check out just right off the bat. I'm seeing one here by Scotty Young. This is a little bit different. Usually I'm used to his white backgrounds. We're getting a nice black background variant cover by Scotty Young here. There are also a lot of clean looking covers by J. Scott Campbell. Oh man, there are one variant A, B, C, and D, E, F, G. Wow, there are a lot of covers. You're going to have some deciding to do. And I know it seems like a lot of people weren't that excited to see John Romita Jr. coming back to do some Spider-Man and being, the main artist on this new Amazing Spider-Man series. I'm going to give it a chance. Obviously, it's freaking Amazing Spider-Man. Who's not going to pick up that first issue? Jumping out right now, it looks like we have some cool Gleason covers as well. But yeah, Marvel is going to push the crap out of this. Whenever you get a #1 issue of The Amazing Spider-Man, you got to do it big, and they're doing just that. Next up for the week of April 27th, we have Knights of X #1. This is going to be written by Tina Howard, and art is by Bob Quinn. Have a couple of variants for this. Scotty Young variant, no surprise there. And I will say this Jay Anacleto variant A looks really nice. He's also doing a Virgin variant cover for the same cover. Yeah, I believe this is going to spin off of the Excalibur series. To be honest, I didn't read that. I try to keep up with XMen, but I find myself getting lost a lot of the times. There's so many things going on. Based on what I'm reading here in the description, yeah, it looks like we're going to have, this medieval vibe to this X-Men story. And I think that's kind of what Excalibur was, maybe. Not sure. I see Gambit in the cover, in cover A here. King Arthur is going to show up, and some other medieval, I guess, mutants. Could be into that. We'll see. And the last new series, technically for Marvel, to end the month of April is going to be Hulk Grand Design Madness #1. We just recently had the release of Hulk Grand Design Monster #1, and this is being written and drawn by Jim Rugg. I did not pick up the previous Monster edition of this series, I guess we're calling it. Actually, I don't think it is a series. It looks like it's just an oversized issue. So I believe this is just going to be a one-shot. It looks pretty interesting. I'm not too familiar with Jim Rugg and his work, but what I think I'm going to do is go to my LCS, and hopefully there still is a Hulk Grand Design Monster #1 sitting on the shelf. I'll check it out. If I like it enough, I'll plan on picking up this Hulk Grand Design Madness #1 that last week in April. All right, let's head into some DC. For that first week in April 6th, we have Batman Beyond Neo Year #1. So we have two, I believe, newish writers on DC doing this series, Jackson Lansing and Colin Kelly. I think they did some things with King the Conqueror, but that's pretty much the only thing that comes to mind when I hear these names. Max Dunbar did some Batman Urban Legends. He will be doing the art on this book. From a cover perspective, not too many, but the ones I'm seeing here I'm really impressed with, especially this one from Miko Suiyan. There's going to be two of the same image, but one's going to be a trade dress as well as a Virgin variant from him. And we also get a cover B by Ward. That's going to be a card stock. And we're going to have a 1 in 25 and a 1 in 100 incentive variant here as well. But yeah, this is centered around Neo Gotham. I am completely lost. I don't know if this is a brand new thing that I should be aware of, or if this is actually something that was already established, possibly in maybe future state. It seems like we have this, a new futuristic Gotham. Bruce Wayne is dead, and Terry McGinnis, is going to be out there fighting crime. I'm always up for a new Batman Beyond series. Even though I really don't know who these writers are, I'm hoping they do some good things. Next up for the week of April 6th for DC, we have Batwoman Earth Prime #1. Looks like we have 3 writers doing this 6-issue miniseries. Cameron Johnson, Natalie Abrams, and Kelly Larson, with art done by Clayton Henry. Not gonna lie, this was a series I was not really intrigued by. I do really like this cover A, though, that we're getting here. And we're also going to get a cardstock B variant cover, which will have, can't think of her name, the actress that is doing the Batwoman CW show. So if you're a big fan of that show, you might want to, consider picking up this limited series by DC for Batwoman and grabbing that cardstock cover. And lastly, for the week of April 6th, we have Flashpoint Batman Night of Vengeance #1. This is going to be written by Brian Azzarello. Art is by Eduardo Risi. All right, so I was laughing there for a minute when I saw Brian Azzarello's name as the writer. And the reason for that is because I had to double check, but he did the World of Flashpoint story back in 2011. So this is actually going to be a reprint of that. And I believe they're doing it as an all-in-one reprint, it looks like. Because there were 3 issues, I believe, in 2011. And I guess they're just going to make it into one for this Flashpoint Batman Night of Vengeance #1. And with that said, let's jump to that next week, April 13th, because we have Flashpoint Beyond Zero. And I believe that's the reason why they're going to bring back to light that story that we had from Brian Azzarello, just to, give some readers some more insight into these Flashpoint stories. And then we're getting into Flashpoint Beyond Zero on April 13th. This is going to be written by Jeff Johns, very exciting, the original writer of, the whole Flashpoint story arc pretty much, as well as art done by Eduardo Risi. But we do have this really nice cover B cardstock variant, and we're also getting a 1 in 25 Max Dunbar variant. So I think this is either going to go 2 ways. It's either going to be very reminiscent to fans of the original Flashpoint run by Jeff Johns. Gotta love Thomas Wayne. But at the same time, I could also see this being a huge flop. Them trying to do something with that arc that's just not going to work. We'll find out. And the last book up for the week of April 13th is The Sandman Universe Nightmare Country #1. Now, this is really exciting. A writer that has absolutely been killing it with, I want to say, the majority of the titles that they've been releasing. We have James Tynion IV doing the writing on this Sandman spinoff or Sandman universe iteration, whatever you want to call it. Art is done by Lissandro. This is going to be a hard one. Istherin, I believe that's how you say it. And we have a couple covers here. A really nice Francisco Mattina cover A and B, where we get that Virgin cardstock exclusive. And we're also going to be getting a 1 in 100 Jenny Frison cardstock variant. And that one looks amazing. I just don't know if I can convince myself, most likely having to pay upwards of $100 for it. And I know this is going to excite a lot of people with James Tynion writing a a story in the Sandman universe. I, for one thing, can't wait. All right, so nothing from DC that week of April 20th. However, we are going to be getting one new series, issue number 1 of The Flash, the Fastest Man Alive, hitting shelves on April 27th. And we have writer Kenny Porter doing this, as well as art by Ricardo Lopez Ortiz. And I don't know too much of Kenny Porter's prior work. I believe he did some writing on, I want to say, the Urban Legends Batman series. I think he at least did something in one of those issues. So with that, I don't know. The Flash is one of my favorite DC characters. I usually always pick up, anything new comic-wise with the Flash in it. We'll see if I end up picking this one up. I do see Batman here on cover A, so that might kind of convince me to want to pick this one up. We'll see. All right, and to kick us off for our new indie series coming out that first week in April 6th. Big news here, guys. Big news. We have a new Lego comic book series. We have Lego Ninjago Garmadon #1. I think that's how you say the name. Garmadon. Not sure. But man, new Lego series. Gotta be stoked for this. This is being written and art is done by Tree Vuong. Whether you have kids or you don't, who doesn't love building Legos? Who doesn't love everything Legos? I'm in for this one 100%. And next up for the week of April 6th, we have Alice Ever After #1 by Boom Studios. This is going to be written by Dan Panassian, and art is by Giorgio Spalletta. I think I'm pronouncing that right. A couple really cool variants here. One jumping out to me right away is the cover here by J. Scott Campbell. We have a John Gang variant as well. That J. Scott Campbell variant will also be in a black and white version for a 1 in 50 incentive. And we're also going to be getting a cover C 1 in 25 Jenny Frison variant. That looks amazing as well. I was never a huge Alice in Wonderland fan, but I don't know. This one, for whatever reason, has my attention. I think this one's going to have to be on my pull list. Moving on for the week of April 6th, from Aftershock Comics, we have The Ocean Will Take Us #1. Writer here is Rich Douek, and we have art by Carlos Oliveras. One other cover here, nice looking cover A. I would assume that's by Carlos Oliveras. And then we have a cover B. It looks to be an incentive variant, but they're not specific on what amount of issues need to be ordered. It just says incentive, so I don't know if that's a 1 in 10, 1 in 25, but that's going to be the only other cover here, and it's by, looks like Hayden Sherman is going to be the artist on that cover B. Aftershock has been doing a lot of great things. Looks like this one's going to be centered around these high school kids. Looking at the description, something is lurking in the water, and I believe they're all part of a swim team, or it has to do with a swim team. Not sure. Could have some type of, not horror, but thriller-ish vibes to it. And just realized that Rich Douek is the writer of Sea of Sorrows. If you haven't checked that out, go ahead and do so. It's a really good series. And he also did Road of Bones. So with that, I think you may want to consider this one. Still in that first week in April, we have Project Superpowers Fractured States #1. And this is going to be a Dynamite title, written by Ron Mars, as well as Andy Lanning. And art here is going to be by Emilio Utera. By the looks of it, we're going to get a very patriotic superhero team. Ron Mars has always done some really solid stuff. So I think you're in good hands from that standpoint, and maybe trying out this new series here. But I don't know if I'm convinced. This will be a game time decision for me. And last up for that first week in April 6th, we have The Rocketeer, The Great Race, #1 by IDW. The writer and artist for the series is Stephen Mooney, and I believe Len O'Grady is doing art as well. There's a cover B, I'm seeing, by Gabriel Rodriguez. That's pretty much it. I think we're only, it looks like we're going to get a cover C sketch variant, which I don't have the image for. But 3 covers here, and you guessed it, this story is centered around a huge race that people partake in. And I believe they, by the look of this cover A, they're all in these weird mechanical superhero type looking suits. And the race starts from California and goes to France. I'm not sure what the reward is, but that's what you're getting with the story. Not really sold on it, to be quite honest. If this is your thing, though, that's awesome. All right, moving on to the second week in April. April 13th for our indie series, we have Image #1. This is going to be celebrating the 30th anniversary of the first comic book by Image. Looks like this oversized issue is just going to be a huge collection of different stories from some pretty well-known and great artists and writers. Writer-wise, we have Kyle Higgins, Jeff Johns is doing writing in this, Brendan Fletcher, Wyatt Kennedy, Scotty Young is doing some art as well as writing. Declan Shalvey is doing the same, art and writing. Mirka Andolfo doing the same. And then we have just strictly art from Andrea Muti, Babs Tarr. The list goes on. And also coming from Image the week of April 13th, we have A Town Called Terror #1. I am always down for some horror. Writer will be Steve Niles on this title. Art is by Seisman Kudronsky. And we're getting a variant cover by Tony S. Daniels. And my God, is that a terrifying yet badass cover. Giving me some Freddy Krueger vibes. Absolutely. I'm going to be picking that one up for sure. This looks promising. I'm definitely excited for it. Next up from Aftershock Comics, we have Midnight Rose #1. And this is going to be written by Jim Starlin, creator of Thanos, Gamora, Dreadstar, all that good stuff. Jim Starlin's going to be doing the writing and also a variant cover. Overall artist is Nicole Jelinek. Jelinek is going to be doing this cover A, but we do have a cover B, and that is going to be the 1/10 incentive variant from Starlin, and it looks amazing. I was really hoping for some Starlin art, and if this is all we're going to get, so be it. I'm happy enough. And story-wise, this actually looks pretty deep. It is a tale about loneliness, love, and what happens when you can't help but give into the vengeance growing deep within yourself. Man, I don't know what we're in for, but I'm hoping it's going to be good. With Starlin on this title, and with it being a one-shot, I don't see why you would pass this up. And another title from Aftershock for the week of April 13th, we have Kaiju Score, Steal from the Gods #1. And this is written by James Patrick, and art and cover art is by Rem Brew. And we're going to be getting another cover here by Lloyd Bailey, a cover B. But I am going to, I think, go with cover A. I do like that contrast with the orange and the blue skin tone of that character on the cover there. Overall, this is I believe, a follow-up to, a already established universe and story of Kaiju Score. I have not read, or I am not familiar with Kaiju Score, but I do know it is going to be optioned for a movie by Sony. Sony Pictures is optioning this. So if you're one to speculate when buying some of your comic books and hoping that, they go up in value, this might be one on top of your list. Moving on to Dark Horse, we have Breakout #1. And this is going to be written by Zach Kaplan. Art is by Wilton Santos. And it looks like we have one other cover B by Raphael Albuquerque. Story-wise, it looks to be a sci-fi adventure where we have a bunch of these teenagers that are being sucked up into these spaceships and captured and held prisoner. Interesting enough, I think I might be checking this out. Last up for the week of April 13th, we have Immortal Red Sonja #1. And this is being written by Dan Abnett. And we have art by Alessandro Miracola. Gonna be honest, I never have gotten into the Red Sonja stuff. I feel like this is a character where I should, if I wanted to get into her whole story arc, go all the way back to Red Sonja's origins. And I don't know, it seems like a lot of material I would be reading. So that was always a reason I was hesitant to pick up any Red Sonja title. But this does look like it's going to be a huge event for Dynamite Comics, releasing a new Red Sonja series with this Immortal Red Sonja #1. And with that, you would assume we have a long list of variant covers here. Not going to read them all, not going to list them all. Josh Burns has a really nice looking one here. David Nakayama also doing one. Some foil covers, some incentives. This is going to have it all. All right, now on to the week of April 20th. This one should be really interesting. From Image Comics, we have Secret History of War on Weed, #1. April 20th. 420. I know what you did there. 2 writers here. Jerry Dugan. Don't really know his work, but I do know this person's work. Brian Posen, I believe you pronounce his last name. He was the rock guy, the geology guy, I believe, on Big Bang Theory. Looks overall like it's going to be hilarious. It's going to tell the true story, lost chapter of the nation's sad and failed war on drugs. We have art here by Scott Koblish, and there's just going to be one cover. It's a one-shot. This is your thing. If you're all about 420, bro, pick this one up. And next from Boom Studios, we have The Vampire Slayer, #1. Looks to be centered around Buffy, Buffy Summers. So it's going to be set in that universe. It's being written by Sarah Gailey. Art is by Irene Flores. And we have a couple variants here. One that really stands out to me is this Christian Ward. I believe it's a 1 in 50 incentive variant. Cover A is all right, but there also is a 1 in 25 incentive variant as well. That looks really cool. If you're a Buffy the Vampire Slayer fan, this has got to be for you. And continuing with Boom Studios, releasing the week of April 20th, we have Magic, the Hidden Planeswalker, #1. This is being written by Margaret Scott, and art is by Fabiana Mascola. Going to be completely transparent with you guys on this too. I was picking up all those Magic issues that were releasing in the last 6 months or year or whatever they were, mainly because they were doing those like secret variants where they were in like the plastic packaging with the slip whatever cover over them, so you couldn't see what the actual cover was. I always just thought those covers were really cool, and it's exciting too when you're like, oh, I don't know what one I'm gonna get. Let's check it out. So they might be doing something similar here. I do see a few covers. There is a cover B and a cover C. I'm not sure if they're going to do that whole secret, cover thing that they were doing with the previous Magic issues that they were releasing. But if Magic is your thing as well, this has got to be up your alley. All right, from Dynamite Comics for the week of April 20th, we have John Carter of Mars, #1. This is being written by Chuck Brown. Art and variant cover art is by George Combadius. We have quite a few covers here for this series, so it seems like Dynamite really wants this to be a success. It's centered around a new vision of this classic Titan, John Carter. And yeah, the covers here are impressive, but overall, I just don't really think this is going to be my thing, so I'll probably skip out on it. Next up for the week of April 20th, we have Triskeli, #1, and this is by Scout Comics. Looks like it's going to be revolved around Celtic myths and legends. Writer on this series is Felipe Pan, and we have artist and cover artist Mano Ramos. Other than cover A, we're just going to have one incentive cover, a 1 in 10, which looks pretty cool. I do really like, though, cover A. I would assume it's by Mano Ramos. And this is going to be a medieval fantasy story, primarily revolving around magic of Welsh and Irish folklore. All right, last up for the week of April 20th, from Scout Comics / Black Caravan, their subsidiary, I guess, is going to be canceled, #1. If you're familiar with Black Caravan, you know that they do a bunch of new horror stories. Man, they have been literally killing it. Writer here is David Byrne. Art is by Pebliku Man. And we have this really eerie and creepy cover, this cover A. We're not getting any other covers. I would highly recommend checking out some of these stories if you're a horror fan. If you read comics and you're a horror fan, I would be so surprised if you haven't heard of what Black Caravan is doing within Scout Comics. Some unreal things. I'm very excited for this, as you can tell. And as much as out of all things horror, I hate clowns, in this, we're for sure going to be getting a clown. You can see in the cover. I'm still going to have to grab this. All right, and on to that last week in April for our new indie comic book series. We have Bloodstained Teeth, #1 by Image Comics. Looks like this is going to be a not your typical vampire story. It's going to be an ongoing series, though, being written by Christian Ward, and we're getting art here by Patrick Reynolds. A handful of pretty nice looking covers, and I believe I did see this advertised in one of the other Image comic book series. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but yeah, it's a vampire story. I don't know, I feel like we just get an influx of vampire stories, it seems like, all at once. And I just saw Morbius the other day, so I'm not really wanting to think about vampires right now, since that movie wasn't great. But overall, I'll probably end up giving this one a try. Okay, next up from Aftershock Comics is The Naughty List #1. You know, I would think this should be a seasonal comic book, but what do I know? This is going to be written by Nick Santora. Art is by Lee Ferguson. We're going to get one other cover here. It's a 1 in 15 incentive by Lee Ferguson. I do not know about this one. Chris Kringle is going to be going around and beating the crap out of people that he thinks, it appears, stole his naughty list. I don't know if we're going to get like a John Wick kind of thing going on with him, or if he's just going to be a really angry man with looks to be a fire poker, or whatever you want to call that. We'll see. And finally, we made it to the end. The last book I have here for the new comic book series that are going to be hitting shelves this April is The British Paranormal Society Time Out of Mind #1. It's being written by Mike Mignola and Chris Roberson. Art is by Andrea Muti. One cover here. Let's see. Is this a one-shot? It's from the world of Hellboy. No surprise there, with Mignola's name being attached to it. Yeah, I don't know. I can't even make it out here. Sorry, guys. Well, I think it's an ongoing series. Might be a one-shot. If you're a Mignola fan, pick this one up. That's all I'm going to say. Let's get into my recommendations, going through each week in April. Starting with April 6th, I'm going to have to give it to Spider-Punk #1. Moving on to April 13th, man, I got to give it to James Tynion, doing that Sandman Universe Nightmare Country #1. For April 20th, I'm going to have to go with Scout Black Caravan's new series, canceled #1. But it's 420. I'm going to also say The Secret History of the War on Weed #1 as well. And for April 27th, no surprise here, brand new Spider-Man series. I'm going to have to give it to The Amazing Spider-Man #1. If you made it this far, thank you so much for sticking it out with me as we go through all the new comic book series that are going to be dropping in April. Before you head out, please go ahead, click that subscribe if you didn't do so already. Also, I would love to hear from all of you guys. What are you going to be picking up in the month of April after going through this list with me? Is there anything that you didn't know was coming out? Is there anything that you knew was coming out and you're really looking forward to? Just comment below. I want to hear from you. And also, did you find this video beneficial? I know for me, one of the reasons I wanted to start doing these was because I felt a little behind when I would go to my LCS every single week. I felt like I kind of knew what was ongoing. You see it every week or every few weeks. There's a new Nightwing coming out, a new Batman, a new Moon Knight, or whatever it may be. But a lot of the times I was like, oh, I had no idea this series was even coming out, this new series. So I wanted these videos to focus on those #1 issues of those new comic book series. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. You can look forward to more videos that are going to be releasing in the upcoming weeks on this channel. But if anything, I'll see you back here in a month for new comic book releases. Until then, peace!